Ladies and gentlemen, request you to kindly take your seats as we are about to commence with the proceedings of this evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For decades now, Kansai Nerolac Paints Limited has been a cherished brand name in domestic as well as commercial circles across the country for its diversified range of products. Staying true to its commitment towards safety and well-being, Kansai Nerolac Paints Limited, the country's leading manufacturing company, has transformed its entire range of decorative paints to suit the environment and people's health.
The world thought only birds could fly, while two brothers dared to differ. The world thought that the only source of light was the sun, but one man chose to think differently. To a normal mind, this was just a spinning kettle, but to a genius, this was the power to live. The world has always been divided into two kinds of people. Many who follow the path created, and one who transforms with an eventual thinking. They see opportunity where none can. We, at Kansai Nerolac, draw our inspiration from these thinkers, and this has been our philosophy since our inception in 1920. 1910, the world has undergone a major transformation, and we have proudly played our part as catalysts of change. Part of the globally present multi-million-dollar Kansai Paints Japan, today Nerolac is the leading player across various sectors. When the automotive sector was ruled by standard run-of-the-mill shades of black and white coating, we transformed the scene by upgrading technology and adding splashes of color. When structures were just being painted, we took it a couple of notches higher and made it tough as well as technologically superior. In a time when everyone thought white goods were, well, white, we surprised them by introducing vibrant colors. And we didn't just stop here. We helped transform and protect various industrial products, while everyone was focused on selling regular paints. We understood the consumer and introduced a little fun into their homes. While everyone was occupied with the present, we took a couple of steps into the future to build a tomorrow which will be even better. We made the entire range of decorative paint lead-free. As part of our commitment to the environment, we have introduced low VOC paints, Impressions EcoClean. We are committed to making a difference to the society we operate within. We invest in improving the quality of life around us. We know that a company is as good as the people who make it. Our goal-oriented professional team, dedicated R&D and quality control departments, state-of-the-art IT, committed customer support, superior manufacturing units, efficient supply chain, and unmatched distribution networks have been excellent in every aspect of the business. The numerous awards we have won stand testimony to the high standards we maintain. But what really sets us apart and puts us in a higher league is our superior consumer understanding that has led us to various innovations. They not only bring the consumer closer, but also help in adding to our market standing, keeping our feet firmly grounded in the present. We inspire tomorrow. After all, the future is not someplace we are going to, but the one we are creating now.
The best way. Check. 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 1, 2, hey. Check. 1, 2. The best way to know your future is to create it yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to begin this evening by saying, we do not inherit the earth. We have only borrowed it from our future generations. If one accepts the simple proposition that nature is the arena of life and that a modicum of knowledge of her process is indispensable for survival, rather more for existence, health and delight. It is amazing that how apparently difficult problems will actually find a ready solution. The key to architectural sustainability is to work with rather than against nature, to be sensitive so that we do not damage the natural systems. Dear friends, architectural sustainability mirrors the view that it is actually necessary to position human activities as a non-damaging part of the ongoing ecological landscape with a belief that nature knows the best. Yes, dear friends, sensitivity towards ecology is inherent and fundamental to the domain of architecture and Kansai Nerolac. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sangeeta Singh, your host for this healthy evening, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to Nerolac Earth Matters, a unique initiative by Kansai Nerolac Paints to discuss sustainable building practices. And I must say that this evening we actually take a step further as we have a live webcast of this entire evening here, this whole event, ladies and gentlemen, with more than 200 professionals who have registered to watch this event online. So dear friends, let's begin with this wonderful evening with a huge round of applause to build in some more health and energy. As we begin, we shall have to throw some light on Nerolac initiative and idea towards sustainability. And to do the same, I would like to invite Mr. Yatnesh Pandey, Senior Manager Marketing, Kansai Nerolac Paints Limited. In his current role, Mr. Yatnesh Pandey is driving brand transformation, painting a greener tomorrow. He is creating distinctive positioning for Nerolac through innovative brand communication and marketing programs. He has added new dimensions to Influencers Group marketing programs from his rich imaging and consumer durable experience. Earth Matters, an architect interior decorator connect program, is his brainchild, which is so far the most successful connect program. Indeed, he is a man of few words, and his personality reflects his attitude in person and in his work. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me to welcome Mr. Yatnesh Pandey.
Good evening. Our today's guest speaker panel and my team and the ladies and gentlemen and those who are watching over the web. I came to know there is some kind of the traffic congestion there outside and some of the people are there into the IGBC conference, but we have taken a call. We have to proceed for the evening because there are the what Anchor has mentioned, there is a certain number of people who are already logged in and they were just waiting to start this discussion. So we thought, let's start it. And I know this is a time band, which is a high tea is a event. It is always very difficult for people to join because neither you are completed your office, neither you started your late evening party. So it's like a very difficult time band. But I think those who are watching us, so for them, we have to start. I will not take much time. I will just, on few slides, I would like to introduce what is the concept of the Earth Matters, and after that, we will hand over this stage to the panelists so that we can discuss the ideas, which is the more appropriate for the evening. Let me introduce to the organization, and like any organization, Nerolac also believes in growth, but there is a difference of our growth vision. Rather than introducing the business jargons or the company turnover, I think for me it's more important to introduce you what is the growth vision for the organization. So our vision is the growth is not only on the business earning, but it has to giving back to the society also. If the organization which is working on that particular society, it has to give it back. So growth should be the inclusive growth. It should not be the growth which is just only the consuming. The growth should be for the preserve and conserve. If I have to give the organizational introduction in terms of the business numbers, in terms of the units. So we are the part of the Kansai Paint Japan, which is the world's 5th largest paint company, and being a Japanese organization and Nerolac has a hierarchy, we always believe into the innovations. We always came out with the new product innovation. Kansai Nerolac has a product across all the three verticals, whether it's the automotive paint segment, whether it's the decorative, which is for the home consumer segment, or whether it's the industrial. I think very few people know we have the strong leadership into the automotive and industrial segment, where paints require a real good technology. Even the durable, now the decorative also require a lot of technology, but making a paint for the automotive and industrial, you require a lot of R&D and those kind of the features which has to paint require. So that's the Nerolac has strength. Now, in terms of the marketing, the organization has a belief paint is not just for a beautification. Paint can do lot more just to beautify the walls or just to decorate the house. What we believe, it can change the overall living environment. So we started this momentum, Nerolac Transform, where we think paint is not just to make your house look beautiful, but it can change the overall living environment. I think if you have noticed, whenever you go to the if you go to the office environment, you find those all plain white walls or those simple plain color walls. It will give you the more sincerity towards your work. But once you go for the evening, any party time purpose, you find those different colors and hues into those clubs and hotels. It charts, it uplifts your mood. So paint has it, the color has it, that kind of the feature. The same way, The Nerolac believes the paint is not only just a beautification, but it can overall change the living environment. Now, what the building construction industry consume and what it give it back to this environment, it's known fact. I don't have to elaborate here. I think all the architects and interior decorator friends, they must be aware, and those who are watching over the web, they must have done some kind of the research also. What kind of the consumption, energy level consumption this building and construction industry is doing, and what kind of the overall waste it is giving back to this environment. But if I have to pick it up here, the one thing which is from the paint side is coming. By the way, paint consumes somewhere around the 5 to 7% of the overall total building cost. And if paint has a VOC element, if paint has a lead element, it is going to somewhere emit those kind of these harmful fumes. And 12% of the overall CO2 comes from those paints. And I don't have to elaborate how this CO2 is going to harm the overall environment. If I have to specifically pick up the VOC, and which is there into the most of the paint category. In India, there is no norms is set by the government side. Whatever the companies are doing, they are doing the productively from your side. But still, this VOC going into the paint is going to harm the environment. Even today, I was into the IGBC conference. I pick up some paint newsletter was there, and they mentioned once VOC met with the sunlight and nitrogen oxide, it creates a certain kind of the harmful fume which affects mainly into some brain signals, which affects into some of the our skin body signals. So this kind of the VOC harmful are there. And we thought, in case if we have to look into the overall environment, what is the situation is there? India is becoming the 4th largest carbon emitter. In terms of the land, this is the last survey which has been done somewhere into the 2008, which is showing the 45% of land in India is getting degraded. By the way, this is the statistics data published by the Government of India, Ministry of the Agriculture and Land Urbanization. The groundwater levels are dropping. The overall India's carbon emission is going to be triple in 20 years. I was listening one presentation in today's the IGBC conference, which is talking about the waste management. They are saying we are playing the 2020 match. So like everything is going into the 2020. So maybe the Kalam vision is by 2020 India is going to be such a superpower or something. The same way the carbon emission is also going to be the triple into the 20 years time. So that's kind of the situation is there. So what is going to happen to the environment situation? Is it going to be something very dark or gloomy? No, I think it's not. And from all the sides, there is a certain kind of the initiatives has been taken and practices are going on. Being into the paint industry, we know paint consumes the most of the groundwater to produce the product. Once you apply the paint, again it emits so harmful fumes. So from the Nerolac side, we thought if our vision is to preserve and conserve, so why can't we go for such an innovation where along with the retaining the paint functional feature, can we do something where we can make the overall paint much more safer and it can be overall add to the healthier and safer environment? So we came out with the one innovation in 2006 and 7 where we reduced the lead from the paint. Then after that, the R&D team has done the another efforts, and they overall the VOC content from the paint they had further reduced. And now all the our water-based emulsion range, it has almost become the no VOC or the zero VOC level. So this kind of the initiative which we are taking to make the overall environment healthier and safer. Once we started this kind of the practices and once we started this kind of the initiatives, we thought who can be the better partner for us. In paint decision, the consumer is the overall who is going to decide the final thing, but there are some influencer or some of the in the overall paint purchase cycle, there are the certain people are there who play the important role in terms of the guiding to the consumer. The dealers has their say, the contractor has their say, and same time the architects and interior decorators also have their say. So we thought, in case if we have to take this journey, if we have to take this initiative, if we have to take this momentum forward, I think there is no one is better than the architect and interior decorator who can bring this awareness forward, who understand this overall sustainability, who understand the overall the benefit of the healthy and safer environment. Can't we share this idea to them? Can't we take them along? And based on this, we started this initiative called the Earth Matters. Along with the product, this lead-free and making the low VOC, the team has approached to the different certification, because if you have to approach to the architects and interiors, so we have to give them the product which they can use it. So it has to be the get tested not only by the Nerolac labs, but it has to be the get tested by the some of the credible labs also. So we go for a testing of those labs. So the product range is have the all the certification which is required to apply for the any green building ratings. And then we started this Earth Matters. We started somewhere into the 2010, and now we are almost completing 3 years plus on this initiative. And I came to know recently only it is almost we are touching around to the 50th event. When we started this journey, it was started with some conference where we are calling some guest speakers. We have the opportunity to have one of the best speakers of India to address the Earth Matters conference. Then we moved. The ideas came from the audience, those who were attending the conference. Why can't you make it a regular connect? This idea came from some city into the Madurai, I believe, or maybe in some north also. Once you are doing the event in the Madurai, how can guys sitting into the Delhi can also share these views? How can he can also understand what has been discussed there on this thing? So we launched our Facebook page. So we introduced on 2011 on the Facebook page, and from there 2011 somewhere into the second half of the 2011 we introduced the Facebook page, and it has taken around 10,000 plus fan base now of this thing. Mostly the architects, students, and some of the senior architects are also there. They keep sharing ideas about this sustainable building practice on this. Then this journey keep moving forward, and last year in the month of October and November we were into some city, and then the suggestion came. We had asked them to put the ideas about the Earth Matters, because our overall tagline is Earth Matters, ideas that count. Then we started getting ideas. Can't we do something where whatever the practice we are discussing can be get implemented also, and it can be get tracked also. So based on this, we had discussed again with some of the lead architects and interior decorators, and then we came out with the idea of to launch the program called the Nerolac Architect. This is the program where architect can become the member, and he can track about his overall the VOC, whatever the VOC is going to save. There is a VOC credit system is there, and then he can also get benefited about the sharing the good sustainable building practice, or he can get benefited about the getting the idea about how the rating can be applied, and there's a lot more benefits are involved. Now after that, there is another ideas has been come forward. You are doing the ideas sharing platform, you are doing the discussion onto the Facebook page, you are giving us the platform where we can track our action also in terms of our green building practices. Where your Earth Matter is using the overall the carbon footprint, where you are saying this thing, are you consuming energy or doing your Earth Matter thing? Then we thought, let's start tracking on this line also. And from today onward, we had started making the Earth Matters more toward to the webinar concept. So today, this is the first webinar it is going to take in place, and it has been accepted or registered by some 2,000 plus, and today there are approximate 200 people are online since around 4 o'clock into the evening, those who are watching us for this event. So this momentum is keep moving forward, and I think it's just the beginning where the Earth Matter is going. I have one very small clipping videos which can give you the idea how the Earth Matter is growing, and I think after today's discussion we will have one more idea to count for this Earth Matter. Can we have that video to play?
Good evening to all of you. Namaste. I come from Bangalore. Now, green buildings are not eco-sensitive buildings. Green buildings are not sustainably architected buildings. They are neither. But I can take you through some of these things to see if I can, help you understand a little more about how you can, as architects, as engineers, and as students of architecture and engineering, create buildings of this kind. I can tell you one thing. I can see a lot of young faces here. I can tell you that there is simply no future for anybody who wants to do anything with the building industry if you are not going to learn about these green buildings and about the very basic rudiments of how you go about approaching design for those three very vital aspects that a building needs: energy, water, and what it puts out, called waste. And if we don't know how to work on these three themes, energy, water, and waste, as architects, we will not deliver the service that the client needs. And as promoters of buildings, you will not have a market. Clients will soon say, look, I'm not going to buy your flat if you're not going to give me answers for these few things. And he will raise a few questions. Soon enough. I'm telling you it's going to happen. Efficiency in lighting and in air conditioning systems, solar water heaters being a must in your house, waste segregation being a must in the sense that you do not send out wet waste. If you looked at, these strands and you did your drawing with assumed responsibility for each of these 6 strands, you will be an architect of the future. You will build a building of the future.
We are sharing with you what is our understanding of sustainability. Have you ever come across a camel whose hair has been cut into patterns? What we want to show you or share with you is this side of that craft in sustainability. So she said something about from grassroots to eco skyscrapers. We are more on the grassroots side that we would like to share in this. There are 3 important questions. Why do we need to sustain? What do we need to sustain? And how can we become more sustainable?
Today, if we really have to lead a more sustainable life, we have to have the guts to negate some of the more common practices around. Affordability is something very, very interesting phenomenon when we are talking sustainability. Today, affordability is increasing, hence sustainability suffers. As someone who has been deeply concerned about these issues for many years now, the relations one has been sharing, feeling very strongly in the mind. But by saying it, I'm not saying, none of us can change the world. I'm just sharing my thoughts with you all.
This topic, Earth Matters, idea that counts. I made it, it was interesting that it is something got to do with sustenance, sensitivity. And as you saw the slides, which the Nerolac case was saying, preserve and conserve appeared there. So the practice revolves around that. In India, you have a problem of misuse, overuse, disuse. You hardly find a vacant property. I'm talking of Mumbai, where you don't find this thing. So the word adaptive reuse is not very often used, but we use it.
these are some of the glimpses from the earlier Earth Matters event. And I think today we are taking it to the new dimension when we are moving it to the digital. And there is a lot more to share on this Earth Matters series. But I think from the today's discussion onward, this journey will take into the new orbit. Thanks a lot, and let's keep this momentum continue. Thank you.
Leaving us on such a thoughtful note. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is important to address sustainable architecture because the practices, of sustainable architecture here in the Indian cities is almost nascent. And also there seems to be an ambiguity on what exactly constitutes sustainable architecture. So this evening we shall start from this forum with a meaningful discussion to all our panelists. And it is an honor and privilege for me to introduce you to our esteemed panelists here, who've really taken time out of their busy schedules and joined us here this evening to share their experiences and thoughts on sustainable practices of architecture. To begin with, I would like to introduce you to the moderator of the panel, Mr. U.V. Krishna Mohan Rao, Chief Executive, U.V. Krishna Mohan Rao Associates. Mr. U.V. Krishna Mohan Rao, International Expert of Energy and Water Efficiency and Green Business, is an alumnus of IIM Ahmedabad and University of Wisconsin, US. Mr. Rao is adjudged as the best energy auditor in the country by PCRA. Mr. Rao's company, UV Krishna Mohan Rao Associates, that is UVKA, approved by Bureau of Energy Efficiency, Government of India, undertakes the challenge of claiming free in relation to clients' actual savings. UVKA advises both domestic and international clients on green building concepts. So could we have a big round of applause as I invite Mr. UV Krishna Mohan Rao here on stage. Next, I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Biju Kuriakos, Partner Architecture RED. Mr. Biju co-founded Architecture RED along with Kishore Panikar. His current projects include a 90-acre mixed-use development in Sri Perumbudur, a 130-acre development in Orga Dam, an 8-acre mixed-use development in Coimbatore, Chennai, an aeronautical engineering campus in Chennai. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in 2010, the firm's Global project won the Architect and Interiors India Award for the Best Commercial Building. So could we have a round of applause as I welcome Mr. Biju Kuriakos here on stage. Thank you for joining us. Next, we'd like to introduce you to Mr. Anupam Jain, Principal Consultant, Green Building Specialist and Founder, Rational the Design. Mr. Anupam Jain and his team of architects and engineers have recently been contributing to the integrated design of sustainable buildings, master planning projects, as well as to policy planning and development. In 2010, he was awarded the International Synapes Award for Best Qualitative Contribution. In 2011, the U.S. Green Building Council recognized Mr. Anupam Jain as the chapter leader as a part of National Leadership Academy. So could we have a round of applause as I invite Mr. Anupam Jain here on stage. Thank you so much for joining us. With that, I'd also like to introduce you to our yet another very esteemed panelist, Mr. B.S. Harikrishna, Vice President, Z Communities. He is a mechanical engineer who has spent over 15 years in a hardcore project construction. At BCIL, he has handed over the world's first platinum-rated TZ homes. He presides over all the market and customer interface. So could we have a big round of applause for Mr. B.S. Harikrishna. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for all the panelists here. And sir, over to you.
Good evening. This event, Nerolac has already received sort of requests as to what are the topics to be covered. and some of the webcast registrants have already given sort of the questions to be addressed by the panelists. Prior to this, we've had a chat among others between Biju, Anupam, and Hari and myself as to, how we will structure this and how do we carry out this in the next 40 minutes. Something about 25 or 30 minutes is given for the panelists to give their opinion, and then maybe about 10 to 15 minutes on the question and answer. Okay, I begin with on the topic of sustainability. It's a very vast subject, but how it has been done is, I think we have chosen something structure about 8 to 9 issues, key issues. I start with Biju and asking him, saying that on addressing the business needs, how viable is real sustainability? Biju or Anupam.
Yeah, so, well, one has to first define what are the business's needs. And as I see it, any responsible business would have 3 basic triple line, benefits or issues to address. From the economic side, I would say, what would be the benefit of sustainability? You make a green building and, I would say there are a lot of benefits. First of all, the construction cost, while it is, argued that green buildings may be costlier, but one has to realize that if one starts early, the construction cost can be minimized. The more you spend time later on in the design process to correct your mistakes, the higher will be your cost. The more time you spend early on and design a building which responds to the climate, which responds to the needs of the future occupants, the less will be your retrofits or changes or costly interventions. So that's a benefit right there. Then from the risks and liabilities, what is a green building? A green building talks about good practice, so adhering to all the codes, traditional wisdom. So if you are following all of that, then it's going to reduce the risks and liabilities. I'll quickly touch upon a few more. For instance, the operating costs also come down, and from a social perspective, today's big office air-conditioned buildings, for instance, house some of the most costly employees, and their salary alone is the biggest expense. If they are not comfortable, they are not going to be productive, and that's a hit right there. So it's a social benefit which has a direct economic value as well. From the environmental perspective, the reduction of the carbon footprint of the building has a direct impact on the way you leave the earth for the future generations. It has a direct impact on the air quality, on the water quality. So there are, I would say, a number of business benefits, and the World Green Building Council has a report out on the business case for green buildings. So for those of you interested, it's a document available for download.
Yeah. One different aspect I'd like to ask Biju is, when you go to an architect, people expect something being different, being innovative, being creative, and so on. So could you share your thoughts on being creative? What does innovation mean in the context of sustainability? You are being innovative just for being sake of innovative, or how do you relate it to be, a part and parcel of supporting sustainability?
To me, sustainability, a lot of aspects of sustainability is just common sense, pure common sense practice. I think, if you just look at the way we used to live traditionally, how we used to share our resources, have a lot more mixed-use developments. these are just basics of sustainability. So when it comes to innovation, one has to be creative the way you think. But a lot of these creativities can be just using pure common sense, and finding a way to get these things done. I mean, we won a national competition about a couple of years ago to do schools across the country for a group, and one of the criteria was that they were going to build schools in small second-tier cities. They were not going to do schools within the major cities. And we are talking about 50, 60 schools across second-tier cities in the entire country. And one of the things that we started talking about sustainability and what technology means, and they were very keen on seeing how technology can be incorporated in the schools. And one of the things we looked at is that 15 years from now, or 20 years now, or even 10 years from now, do we really need these kind of spaces for the schools? Whether we are going to have a physical library, or everybody is going to get onto e-books, and the amount of space that you actually need within a library just gets cut down. You can just take your e-book, go to the veranda or any room and read them. So one has to start listening the idea of building itself. Do we really need to build so much? It's one thing to make the building sustainable and LEED rated or any other rated, but the idea of whether we need to actually build so much, and then we were looking at these schools to be, how can we use these schools to expand and become community spaces to the entire town? And I mean, these are not, great ideas that we invented. These, if you look at how we traditionally used to live, this is how we live. We just got away from it. So we just need to find a way to, come back. The idea of sustainability starts with sharing. I mean, the more you share, the more sustainable you become, because you whatever you have, whether it's infrastructure, water, anything, the more you share, the more sustainable we are living in. So I think we need to start thinking fundamentally, thinking holistically about the idea of sustainability, and think creatively in that sense. So innovation doesn't mean that you need to innovate new technologies, but we can be purely creative in the way we think and incorporate these ideas. So,
yeah, coming back to the first point of Anupam, I'd like to ask Hari as to addressing the business needs, how viable is real sustainability?
We've had an experience of about 19 years of building homes in Bangalore. We at BCL have been doing homes which are completely grid-free, which don't have water connections, which don't have power connections, and we do not export anything out of our homes as to the grid. So we are completely independent of the grid if you look at systems, what we do. And for us, we always need to be competitive in the market when we deliver homes, and it becomes imperative that we always lay emphasis on costs also while doing sustainable homes. But if you look at how the way we design homes, for instance, I'll take a very simple example of energy right now, though I'll come to, since it's from the paint domain, let's take an example of paint itself. If you look at paints, for instance, how many of you choose low VOC paints? Everybody thinks that, I think I need to ask Mr. Pandey if VOC paints are expensive. Of course, you feel that VOC paints are expensive, and people generally tend not to use VOC paints. But how many of you look at it as a health benefit? For instance, by using VOC paints, like what Nerolac has its belief as, that paints can do much more than beautify. They can actually change our living environment. See, it's not just beautification. For example, if you look at paints itself, when you use low VOC paints, it changes the complete indoor air quality environment. It increases productivity when you use it in offices actually. You don't get the dizziness, headache, and many such things. So what happens is, not just the increase in productivity, if you look at your health benefits what you get, there's a lot of health benefits what you get in the long run. You don't go to hospitals often. Nowadays you see there are quite a number of diseases that come in because of air pollutants, all these things. So how do you avoid these things? How do you think, like Mr. Biju and Jane were telling earlier, how do you use this common sense? It's just a common sense. In the longer, we always look at short-term benefits, we never look at long-term benefits what we have. So when you look at the long-term benefits, I think that this is a module that works, and sustainability never goes expensive. Green homes are not expensive as people think, with large number of players coming into the market supplying green products. I think the costs have come down and going green. And we are at par with any normal building, and it's being demonstrated now. So generally, greening and sustainability commercializes as an additional cost. So what Hari is trying to emphasize is, when you look at it totality, the costs are lower. When you look at it in life cycle costs, the greening does not cost extra, it's the other way around. It makes a lot of business sense to get into sustainability and greening. Now, Anupam, between form and function, where does sustainability stand in the link between aesthetics and functionality?
That's an interesting question. Between form and function, well, doesn't form follow function? I mean, somebody rightly said that, no, isn't it? But if you look at the practice of construction through history, the Mughals built buildings a certain way. They had a limitation of the structural systems known to them, the climate in which they were geographically located. The Greeks built a different way. They were in a different climate. They had different cultural needs, and they were restricted by their own structural systems and techniques available to them. Then new materials came on the scene. Steel came on the scene, and what was being built in wood was continued for a while to be carved on steel. But fundamentally the form of the buildings had changed. You had large column-free spaces that you could create now, and even though you were trying to hold on to a little bit of the cultural aspect and the design aspect and the form of the types of spaces that were there, the functions remaining the same, the form evolved, and with materials, what followed was technology. So when a new technology came on the scene, then further changes happened. And when we talk about technology, it's not particularly to say that it is high tech. In fact, it is, I would on the contrary say, it is the low tech that we have to look back on, and the passive architecture that we need to adopt. The elements of form, the vocabulary already exists in our architectural vocabulary. We already know what the jalis are, the chhajjas are, the jharokas are. We know all the courtyards, the verandas, the thick walls. So all that the new high-tech green buildings tell you is to do all of that. It's a Venturi effect. The jali will increase the speed of the wind going through. The thick walls will add thermal mass. The jharokas will add shading. So all of that is not high-tech, but it is rather the evolution of the interpretation of these ancient traditional wisdoms to the latest design forms possible today, that we have to form the vision. And that is where the role of architects is crucial to create those interpretations of these techniques, and through their design create spaces that still function as per the requirements of the client, and these space function, but are designed in different manners, right? So that's that. Landscape, we don't talk about landscape. Form follows function, form and function. Landscape is in itself a field. The trees, whether they are planted right outside your east and west facing windows, or whether you plant mounds, or design the way the winds are and the microclimate is designed around your building, that's part of the building experience. So it's a holistic view that needs to be taken, and I believe that it's a very exciting time when all these additional options are available to architects and engineers, and they have to work together really to form these new interpretations.
You have vast experience in taking a holistic approach in township planning and in totality. The need to consider sustainability with regard to life cycle cost of a built space. Can you dwell on it?
Yeah, I think we often think of sustainability, especially in the early 2000 I was in New York for about pretty much 10 years I spent in New York, and the early 2000, there was this, that's when the lead really, the USGBC really picked up there. And then every architect started talking about sustainability and environmental sustainability. And you know, you often wonder, the sustainability is all about environmental sustainability. You know, there's a huge social sustainability, economic sustainability. Unless we achieve all three, it's never true sustainability. You know, you can build the most sustainable house, and if you have to drive thousands and thousands of miles to reach there, it doesn't matter what rating it is. I mean, you're just burning fuel to reach there. You know, so one needs to think about you know, I keep talking about this in lectures that I give is the basics of planning. You know, we need to think the way we build our cities. You know, we often look at density and get scared of, but density is actually a good thing for sustainability. How we do the density is probably you know, done very badly in our cities, but increased density is actually a good thing. You know, the mixed use density, creating pedestrian friendly. In fact, I would say all these principles of good planning, if you take it and you can just apply it in anywhere in the world. You know, this, you know, idea of creating a pedestrian friendly street, the idea of mixed use, the idea of increased density, creating fenders, all these things. I mean, you may apply them differently, you may design them differently. For example, a pedestrian friendly street in New York may be different from how you design it in Dubai, purely because of the climate. But the idea of, you know, walkability, you know, is a sustainable way of living. So one needs to think about that, and then we need to, you know, start looking at it and, you know, living that way. You know, when I moved here, if you go down on OMR, you know, every time I pass by, I used to think, what a lost opportunity, you know, because we started, and this happens across country. We created the most beautiful street and made it into an IT corridor and just called it an IT corridor, and nobody thought what happens if tomorrow there's a downturn in that IT corridor, you know. And cities like Detroit are facing that, you know. And imagine if it was a mixed use development where I could live in an apartment next to my house and I could just walk into that office, you know. So we never think of planning that. I mean, a lot of these things have to happen at the policy level, and unfortunately it doesn't happen. The way things are getting done in India is that developers go and build. So sensible developers build it properly, non-sensible ones build it wrongly. So, I mean, unless policy changes happen, and there is a holistic vision to how our cities needs to be built, these things won't change. And we can just learn from experiences. You know? I mean, in India, what we do is actually the mistakes of, you know, the Western countries did in the 80s. You know? Like we think building the largest, biggest highways is a solution to every problem, right? While people are coming back from it. They are talking about mixed use density. It's like industrial revolution. When industrial revolution happened, everybody wanted to live away from where you worked. So, you know, there was that live-work notion went off. But in the 2000 or the late 1990s, when the digital revolution came in, if you look at, you know, so for example, Silicon Valley, the whole idea of live, work, play came together. Like you can live above a Starbucks, come down with your laptop and interact with the venture capitalists, get your funding. Everything was happening like that. So that's because of the technology. So we need to think of spaces, how we work, how we live. All these things have to come together, and we need to look at it holistically. And a lot of these things have to happen at the policy level.
That's good. What Vijay stated is emphatically is environmentally friendly sustainability coupled with economic sustainability and social sustainability. These three are equally important for talking something in a holistic manner, not in an isolated manner. Hari, how do we offer integrated solutions for sustainable combining technologies and design to give holistic view?
Even Mr. Jain was mentioning the same thing earlier. If you look at this, see what we have to do is, sustainable practices is all talking about traditional architecture with contemporary understanding of technology or engineering, I can tell that. See, there are a lot of developments that is happening in the engineering domain to the technological domain with a lot of innovations happening. How do we blend them like traditional architecture? It's not that we need to innovate always. we had to look at integrating all these solutions to get a holistic approach. And second thing is, when we integrate also, we have to do it in such a way that these three key parameters of energy, water and waste have been taken into consideration, because we cannot isolate each of them. For instance, today morning we were having a discussion in one of the meetings when we were discussing, we were looking at some things where how we can not depend on deep aquifers and we can depend on shallow aquifers, because if you go for a deeper aquifer, the amount of energy that is consumed is going higher. How did this holistic solution come in? If you look at a city like Chennai, when our water tables were very, very low, and today, because of just one government implementing that rainwater harvesting rule becoming mandatory, phenomenally the groundwater tables in Chennai have got improvised. And who is going to benefit this? At a city level, if you look at, it's all the citizens who are getting benefited, and because of the water tables coming up, the amount of energy required to pump in water from the groundwater source decreases. There's a huge amount of benefits. So we have to always look at integrated solutions. And the last one is waste. Again, we'll have to give a lot of importance to waste also, so that we never give out waste.
Good. Anupam, making the right choice, that is choosing the appropriate time and correct materials in quest for sustainability. I'd like to ask if you can state any of our actual live examples, case studies.
Actually, then let me talk. First of all, I would like to say that materials, wherever you are building, please try to see what is available regionally and locally, and how you can design and be creative with that. What is available to you right there and then, and rather than going out. And then in terms of specific technologies and specific cases where they have been used, I can talk about the San Francisco train station that we worked on, and there we used the technology as a tool, in the sense that right from the design process, the architects used a BIM model in Revit, and that same model was transferred to the mechanical engineering guys who put in the HVAC system. The same model was transferred to the structural guys who put in the structural systems, and the same model then went to a project management consultant, PMC, who looked at the clash detection. So what all different mechanical, electrical, plumbing, structural, architectural issues were there in that model. He did a very basic clash detection run, and that told him that hey, you need to move your duct these many centimeters down, you need to leave a shaft or a sleeve in your beams, and so on and so forth. And that, like I was saying earlier, the early design effort that the team puts in, that helped the Transbay development in San Francisco to be one of those developments where you hardly needed any mechanical air conditioning. They gradually phased all of it out, And then in terms of materials, I come to another train station, which is the Anaheim Regional Intermodal Transit Center, ARTIC. There, the form of the train station was such. It was a geospatial structure, like an arc in 3 dimensions, and the material used on top was ETFE pillows. Now that was groundbreaking. That material had not been used that extensively anywhere before. The Beijing stadium was under construction at that time, and that is where the ETFE pillows that you see, with this bubble-shaped building was used, and that train station was entirely underground. So the experience of a traveler coming up from the escalators and be able to see the sky upwards and not be affected by the glare or the additional solar heat and all that was engineered into that material, and with the help of other analysis tools, it was brought down and fabricated to such specifications that it would ensure a comfortable building. So that's one specific case, and I would emphasize plan. The more you spend time in early design, you will save time later on. then this is a structural technique. Similarly, you can today the problem is that we don't challenge ourselves. You have to look at what is possible, not just what is available as well. In terms of structural techniques, you're familiar at one point of time, if everybody had been happy with the load-bearing brick wall, do you think we would have had such tall buildings today? Similarly, the cable structures, the long span structures, there are so many innovative structural techniques out there. Go ahead, challenge your structural engineer. Talk to them, learn about it, say, I know it's possible. You should be able to do that. And there are so many examples internationally. Santiago Calatrava, for instance, his bridges, they are poetic, and they are very good examples to see that. And lightweight structures are there, and indigenous technologies have their own structural systems. And I would encourage you to look at resources like the BMTPC, the development alternatives, the HUDCO, the Taran and Man Kendra. These are places where these alternate technologies are tested, they are created, and they are being used. Mr. Anil Lal, one of his quotes was shown, and he has a building technology center in Faridabad. So if you have a chance, look up these guys. They are all on the internet. Their manuals are available, and equip yourself with these things. Again, with technology, I would say, now getting onto the active side, the role of technology there is that you have controls available for users to control their thermal environment. You have the facility manager of today is a very, very sophisticated guy. He can from a website turn off the lights of your room, turn off the power to your AC, and so on and so forth. So those kinds of energy management systems are possible. Design your buildings to be able to incorporate that, dream and think about it in that way, that this is how my building is going to work. Then sub-metering, it is what you cannot measure, you cannot basically deal with. So you need to have data. Sub-metering of energy and water is very important. Integration of, now another quote that I saw somewhere is that green buildings by themselves do not constitute a green urban environment. So you have to address those issues from tools available at the urban level as well. So use GIS, use smart grids, design your buildings to be on the smart grid, design your buildings to include PVs. Think about what would your future look like if it was net metering. And then use traditional wisdom like shading, less glass, and landscape as a tool, like I said earlier.
There's a lot of talk about sustainability, and then a lot of greenwash happens. Everybody says we are doing sustainability. How does it, become a brand differentiator?
It's a very interesting question, because I always used to wonder myself also about it, because like I said earlier, in the early 2000s, when every American firm wanted to be the sustainable firm, the most sustainable firm in the country, and I'm talking about architects, and it is true with other industry which is related to construction as well. But there is a positive in it, because it doesn't matter even if you started thinking differently, and if you make that 1% initiative to change, then you succeeded in something. We may not have gone further. It doesn't matter what is the you should be able to take advantage of what you're doing, as long as what you're doing is the right thing to do. So the only thing is that one should not get carried away by this aspect. I mean, I think sustainability, more than anything else, is a way of life. You need to give up a lot of things which you actually like to be truly sustainable. So that is very critical. So it has to be something that you believe passionately and believe at the core of it. Otherwise, you'll always be doing superficial things. I was talking to you earlier about this building we're building. It's a multi-story building, about 150,000 square feet, and we just had it's an architecture school, so we we've been telling them, you can't make them air conditioned and call it a sustainable building. No? So it has to be an example of this thing. So we're looking at natural ventilation, everything, and then finally they wanted two or three rooms at least, the dean's room and to be air conditioned. And then once we started consulting with the HVAC world, all these lead, for those few rooms, we had to put in a chiller. We had to get in this heavy equipment in, which completely didn't make any sense. So we should not do things because, it sounds cool. We should think about it, challenge it, and do it because we believe in it. Only then we can really make a difference.
Lovely. Hari, BCIL, they have got an environmental sustainable homes much ahead of these certification process. Can you share your experiences? How sustainability has been a differentiator in promoting your homes?
Actually, here I would like to beg to differ from Mr. Biju, what he told. To become sustainable, you never have to compromise with anything. We can never compromise with luxury to become sustainable. The reason I can tell you this is because you need not change your lifestyle. Today's lifestyle is too advanced, and if I want to go back a decade behind, nobody will come and go into more of sustainable principles. We at BCL have been doing homes which are air conditioned. For example, I can tell you one simple example. We innovate and integrate both the things what we do. One side we use passive ventilation, passive architecture, and the second side, see, no customer would like to compromise on having an air conditioner in his home. So what we did is we innovated a bit. So we have some air conditioners which work on just 400 watts of energy than a normal air conditioner which works on 1200 watts. So you see, you're saving 1/3 of energy every time you use an air conditioner. Like that, we have fans which work on 23 watts than the normal fan which works on 75 watts. So I don't want to compromise that. I don't want to tell the customer that you don't use fans, you don't use ACs, or you don't. For example, I can tell you, the taps in our homes just use about 6 liters of water per minute compared to the conventional taps which dispose about 12 liters of water per minute. In fact, today morning in one of the conferences, Karanji was telling how Japanese, in fact Nerolac is also a Japanese company, how Japanese had invented where the showers, once you turn it off, it stops within 3 seconds. Whereas in the hotels where he was staying, it used to stop at 27 seconds. We have to look at alternative measures, how we can come into this, and customers always look for benefits. They never look at features, what you're doing. So this is one of the experiences what we have done, and we have demonstrated homes where in Bangalore, in Chennai, we are coming up with in Chennai also. We are doing homes in Chennai. You won't believe this. We are doing homes in Chennai next where we are not going to have water connection from CMD. We have taken up this as a challenge. We have done this in Bangalore. We have demonstrated this, and we have also set up a rainwater harvesting park in Jayanagar to educate the public on how you all can become sustainable without even a water connection in your home. So our homes don't have water connection, our homes don't have power connection, so we are not compromising even then. Our homes are luxurious. In fact, we were rated as a 3rd luxurious villa project in the south for one of our projects what we did. So that is how it goes. So we should never compromise on luxury, and a living example is sitting next to me. Generally the moderator asks the questions, but this time I would like to tell Krishna Raoji, he has a home in Chennai which he doesn't pay more than 400 rupees as his power bill. I don't know what, he'll have to share his experience now, because if you look at his home, it's air conditioned. You won't feel how he has done the air conditioning, the technology and all. The EB board, I think it is TNEB here, correct? The TNEB board keeps going to his house and telling him that, okay, there is something faulty in his house. His air conditioned home is consuming only giving them a revenue of only 400 rupees. You know, meter tampering, many people do. Today, anything we do good also, you're suspected. That is how it happens. So I'd like you also to share a few experiences on what you did in your home.
But before you still answer the question, how BCL has been using sustainability as a differentiator in selling? How are you able to attract customers based on that your homes are sustainable?
Like I told you earlier, most of them look at a suspicion, because I'll ask any of you in the audience, you tell me, will you buy a home from me in Chennai if I tell you that my homes don't have water connection? Any of you are ready to raise your hands? Any of you here who will buy my home? I'll tell you that there is no CMD water connection. Okay, next, one more point.
I will tell you that my homes will not have EB power connection. I'm generating my own power. Will anybody buy? I'll go one more step ahead and I'll tell you, you're not going to send any waste outside your campus. Is anybody still ready to buy from me? No hands going up. So, nobody believes that. See, what has happened today, green is more than an eyewash what is happening, because most of them tell that we are green. Green is getting good just by sustainable landscape. Green is just a color still. See, we started way back in 1995 when green was still color. Nobody knew about green buildings. That is the days when we started, and when we first did our campus, it was like this. Like nobody raised your hand. It was very difficult for us also to penetrate into the market and ask them to buy homes. But the first project what we did called Transgenders Homes in Kanakpura, when we did that, it is only one home per acre what we have done. Today, of course, we saw some presentations which tells about land of use that's there, spiraling land prices. We don't have that luxury today, but we did that campus which became sustainable. After that, we delivered the world's first platinum rated building was done by us. It's called TZ Homes in Whitefield. They're also the same problem like Krishna Rao sir was having. Most of the times the EB board, it's called, those days it was called KEB in Bangalore. They used to constantly come and raid us. They used to think that this project is not giving us any revenue. 3,300 square feet homes paying power bills of less than 500 rupees. Air conditioned homes. Water connection, BWDSSB thought that we are doing some cheating. We are not taking any water connections at all. We don't send out even sewage water outside. You won't believe this. We don't send out even sewage water outside our campus. We use it completely for our landscaping, and we have stopped using dual plumbing. Today everybody is talking about dual plumbing, and we have stopped using that. So we have been going advanced and advanced in these technology, and we have demonstrated physically and doing many of these things, designing in-house, and we do a lot of backward integration in our process. We never do architecture-led services. Generally, we follow services-led architecture. What we do is, if we take a piece of land, we measure how sustainable is this site in giving water back to the people, and we build only so many number of homes. We are not greedy. We never go greedy in building more homes and making more money out of it. We look at how sustainable, real sustainable it can become. So that has been a challenge with us in terms of market. Sorry to put this out in the open, but even then, because people don't believe us that we are doing so green. And thanks now to the awareness that is being created amongst across all the cities, across the globe. In fact, you have to see the example where Singapore is trying to become green. In 2030, they are telling 80% of the buildings will go green. Yesterday, in the presentation, we saw that. So we have already done that. See, look at it as a case study. Never ever look at the government. Don't ever look at subsidies. Don't think that it is the municipal corporation's duty to supply you water, or you throw your garbage out on the road and tell that the garbage has to be handled by the government. Why can't you handle it on your own? The change should begin with us. The change, that's what matters. Like the earth matters, the show what we are on, that is what matters the most. It's not just the ideas, it's the common sense also we have to use and make this happen. And thanks to that ideas thing that is written here, ideas that count, you won't believe that in BCL we believe that idea is the boss. There is no boss, there is no hierarchy in BCL. I have the privilege of sharing the same dais where Dr. Chandrasekhar Hariharan was there earlier. You must have seen his video also just now. He tells that idea is the boss in my organization. Take an idea, develop around it, and that's what is needed today. That's how sustainability should grow.
Good. I'll answer Hari's question, and that I'll keep to the last. And close it about times in nature, role of technology in the context of sustainability. Biju?
Again, I think.
Hello. Yeah. Again, I think it has a big role to play, and I think that we are starting to see more and more happening as we started building more. I mean, like I was mentioning about how we want our as we grow, our aspirations requires us to start consuming more. Now, once we start consuming, there's only two options: either we should be consuming less, or we should make that consumption more efficient. In other words, and technology can do that, and that is how a lot of our buildings are today built. I mean, as an architect, I am a critic of a lot of what is happening. We build the most beautiful glass boxes and put
heavy equipment into it to make it sustainable. So, you can question whether it's the right thing, or or we should just get away from doing that, or do it in the most intelligent way, in the most natural way. So, if you're an architect, you need to ask a lot of these questions yourself. You can avoid certain problems, you can't fully avoid it, or you can create a problem and try to solve the problem. So, but either way, technology has a lot to play. I think technology helps in both the cases. But like I mentioned earlier, a lot of these things have to start at a common sense level by thinking creatively and innovating creatively. It doesn't matter whether it's through technology or the way you articulate your design. Something as simple as orienting your building the right way. If you're an architect, as opposed to orienting the building the wrong way and then again put all these machines into it to make it sustainable. So it's critical one looks at it holistically and challenge these things. So.
Yeah. Before I conclude, I'd like to ask all the three panelists one important thing: how can policies be converted to sustainable tomorrow green buildings? Is one of the questions received by Nerolac from the Webcast feedbacks. So can you please state how can policies be supported sustainability?
When you say policies, you're talking about government policies.
That's correct.
Again, a lot of things. It's not just buildings. I don't look at sustainability and buildings as all the problems. And I think I very strongly believe it's the way we live, and we need to create an environment for us to live sustainably. We've been working with the Corporation of Chennai. We've been going after for the past 5 years, working with City Connect and ITDP, other non-profit organizations, to convince the corporation to build sidewalks. Something which is very simple. Which can be implemented if we have the will, and it immediately transforms a city into a much more walkable city. Today we are actually, I'm happy to share that corporation has allotted 71 roads, and looking at 71 roads to be converted. We are doing bicycle tracks on a road in Besant Nagar. Along with, we are actually reducing the carriageway, which is, huge challenge convincing people. The moment the work started, police guys came, you can't reduce it. But somehow, we found a way to get it done. It's in a lot of non-profit organizations are working tirelessly behind the scenes to get these things done. But the moment they see it, everybody is happy. Now they want bicycle track on all the roads. So in a lot of these things is our exposure level. We don't know. And that is true with a lot of the development community. I'm an architect. Maybe it's wrong thing to say because, but I feel that even the with our development community, the developers, most of them are not, trained as developers. You become a developer because you have huge land bank, and obviously there are exceptions. I'm not saying that, but architects have a large role to play. We need to use our, skills to communicate well, bring in that exposure where it is lacking, and try and convince them. We are doing huge townships where we are, which is completely pedestrianizing it, and we are doing bicycle loops, beautiful townships, where we had, it was a struggle. We had to illustrate a lot of things. The other fashion is to build gated communities. But we never asked, is that the right thing to do? I remember we were doing a 100-acre development in Sriperumbudur, and the client was insisting on making it a gated community. Naturally, from their point of view, that is how you look at it, because everything that you see around is bad, But then we had to take the site, overlap. We literally took the site and overlapped into, MRC Nagar in Chennai, which was the same scale as that site. And I told him, now imagine MRC Nagar being a gated community. Now we can't gate our neighborhoods, that is how we thrive as cities, because we share. So we can't start locking our neighborhoods. You imagine Adyar is a gated community, or a Besant Nagar is a gated community. Cities are not built like that. And the way we grow and the population we have, whether it's Sriperumbudur or Oragadam, we are going to be urban very soon. All these, we need to think of creating centers in Sriperumbudur so that we are not dependent on Chennai, or Oragadam so that we are not dependent. It has to be mixed use. We need to create open communities. Only then we will improve. Otherwise, our neighborhood may be, the house that I live may be nice, but my neighbor, the moment I come out, I'm trying to create two citizens, which is never a sustainable way of living. So we need to, look at these things, and policy has a lot to do with it, and a lot of these things can't happen at a development. I mean, ideally all these things should be driven, the land use should be driven by the policy. But, hopefully it will happen. I think there's a lot more talk about it today than maybe 10 years back, and a lot more exposure to it with the bureaucrats and with the politicians, that hopefully things will turn around.
Anupam, your take on policies on sustainability?
I'll give a slightly different perspective with respect to the policies that you need for sustainability to grow, right? Now, we all know that there are enough policies. We are excellent in making policies. The problem is in implementation. That is one. And there are policies in place. For instance, I'll tell you that certain development authorities have announced that we will give X% extra FAR if you are a green building. And that has led to the developers scrambling to make their buildings green. Now all the developers want that extra FAR, so all the buildings are going green. Right. That's one way of looking at it. But I would say that's a band-aid. That's a short-term solution. What we need is a longer-term solution, which is what policies are for. And that, I would say, requires the creation of a green-collar workforce. So the policy has to today start to address the education, the training, the vocational, training of a green-collar workforce, where when you say that, green buildings, if I make them mandatory tomorrow, is the industry ready and equipped to handle it? Why do you need the government to make it mandatory? If you are educated and you are aware of the benefits and you are skilled and there is a demand, or why will you not then create a demand for such practices? This is like you said, it's all common sense. A lot of these green building practices, they are written in the codes. If you read any of the green building rating systems, a lot of them a lot of the green building rating systems, they say that you have to show compliance to the National Building Code, for instance, or the safety regulations, or to international lighting regulations, and so on and so forth. So creating those policies today that will train and educate the users of tomorrow to demand a green and sustainable environment, that I think is the most fundamentally missing and required policy initiative. And these, until the time we're able to do that, I see there are a lot of green building training programs that are happening, and the Ministry of Renewable Energy is incentivizing or awarding the consultants who have the most number of green building projects, or the building that has the most number of PVs, and so on and so forth. Those are smaller term incentives, and they are going to help. But again, like I said, it is the implementation, and the builder should not be able to take a turn around and take advantage of any loophole. So that's a policy for sustainability for me.
Yeah, Hari, earlier you mentioned an example of rainwater harvesting. How the government initiative helped in wide scale improvement. Can you state any such things that which can be done by the policy level which will be conducive for sustainability?
Well, I agree with Mr. Jain and Mr. Biju on the policies. I can tell you only one thing. See, one side you have to incentivize when they want to go green. For instance, Singapore is setting a target to become 80% green by 2030, which they definitely will achieve, knowing the pace with which they are going. But at the same time, there is one thing. While we incentivize good work, there is a lot of subsidy that is being given by the government. I think we should take this off. This is a very, very bad thing of getting subsidies. The government doesn't listen to all these when we tell them that take the subsidies off. For instance, if you look at the cost of the production of power, especially, I'll take an example of Karnataka from where I come. For example, in Karnataka, it takes, on the national level, if you take it off, so it costs about 19 rupees to generate a unit of power, and the amount what you pay in your home is
hardly about 3 rupees to 6 rupees. Depends from state to state. So you're getting a subsidy of 13 rupees. So when you are being heavily subsidized, you tend to waste more. For instance, if you look at water also similarly, you pay about 6 rupees per kiloliter of water, whereas it takes about 48 rupees to bring that water back to you in Bangalore. I'll just take the example here. So you're getting so much of subsidy, you don't care for it. The same bottle, if you buy a liter of distillery water, will we leave it out there? We never leave that. We wash cars using pipes of water. And we blame the government. See, one side, the government is not getting off the subsidy mode because it needs work. If they hike the price of gas, the government falls. And now onions is another thing what is happening with it touching 100 rupees a kg and the government shaking. It just in big tears. It's like that. So we are telling the government should not just work on subsidy, but it should incentivize good work. It should set policies where it makes green buildings mandatory, like what Chennai did on rainwater harvesting, and how phenomenally the groundwater table in Chennai went up.
Good, thank you. Just before concluding, I'd like to ask the audience any questions. Whatever we have addressed so far is something based on the feedback that we've received, and so we structured it. So any of you are welcome to please raise any of your questions that you have for the panelists. Please tell your name and tell your question. And to which panelist member?
Hi, I am Kushagra, and any one of you can probably answer it. The question is that the quantification is a problem. We all say that common sense is the way to go. We all say that a low VOC paint should be the thing of choice, and it's just common sense because it pays off. But then the question is that how do a customer who, he doesn't, let's suppose the common man doesn't have common sense. That's why it's common sense. It's very uncommon. So how does he quantify that? What's the saving? I mean, energy, you say a green building will give greater returns. But then how does the customer quantify it? For green buildings, I agree. There are tools to establish it, the energy models that are done, and you still have numbers. In terms of abstract stuff, how do you quantify?
Probably you have not heard the answer from UVK Rao sir, so that is the reason I think you are giving this, putting this question. The reason I am telling you is because he saves a lot. This is one of the best green buildings. He has phenomenally saved a lot of money. So that's a quantifiable term. So for example, if you look at energy or any such needs also, for example, the amount of energy what you consume before you install some energy saving device. For instance, I can take a simple example of a CFL bulb to an incandescent bulb. If you look at an incandescent bulb, it takes about 100 watts, and if you look at a CFL bulb, it takes about 15 watts. So there is 85 watts of energy that you are saving. So it is quantifiable. If you look at water, the amount of water that you are consuming today to installing some aerators or some water efficient taps or something, when you do that, how much of water you are going to save. So that is also quantifiable. So in the same way, look at the amount of waste that goes out of your home. Instead of you sending out waste, if you just use simple mechanisms like doing composting at your home, the amount of waste that is going out, the Chennai Municipal Corporation is taking out to fill it in the landfill. The amount of trucks that goes into the city carrying this garbage comes down. So every measure when you go green, it is quantifiable. It's not just in terms of energy savings or the liters or in terms of the kgs of waste that goes out. It's even in terms of economics. It's in terms of money also. There's a lot of money you save and you never compromise on your lifestyle. And the second thing is your life becomes content. You get a lot of happiness when you do it with care. It's not because you're doing it with a policy that is coming in or it is because of a mandate that is coming in. You're doing it for your children. You're doing it for your future. When you think in those ways and do it, you'll definitely succeed. And I think probably that quantifies your answer.
I think we leave it at being unquantifiable, like happiness, abstract, and so far so good. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'll conclude by just giving the case study Hari wanted. Our home, Mrs. Syamlam, is in Madipakam. It's a ground plus 2 floors bungalow, independent house. The trick behind it becoming the greenest building in India at the individual level has been I kept an open mind. Our family kept an open mind. The architect who has done that job, believe it or not, is a fresh graduate who had come out of college. Okay, from a private architectural college from Chennai. I just gave her Vidhi Gupta. She's now in UK working for a sustainable consulting firm. It's about 5 years ago. I just told Vidhi, you come here saying that you can do something about, contributing value add on architecture. Can you take this plan and come back and give me your ideas how I can make the world's greenest building? Believe it or not, in 72 hours she came back with solutions with respect to the agenda that we set for her. The agenda was, it should be the lowest energy consuming building. Okay? It must have the freshest air possible all through the year. It must have zero lighting energy consumed during sunrise to sunset. It must not have municipal water connection. It must not have municipal sewage connection. In 72 hours, she came back with just the modifications that have to be done in the plan. So I went, fortunately, just like us, the architect, the main architect, also was open for these changes. He just plugged in, and it so happened, all of them, led to the results what they are. For example, our friend was asking in terms of cost. There are two costs involved. One, construction, your fixed costs that go into it, and two is your operating costs. Construction costs, just to give one example, the building peripheral walls were done by Rat Trap Bond of Laurie Baker. Then the brick to brick, there's an air gap given, the building is cooler. Okay? 1/3 of the bricks that are required to be used for the entire building, ground plus 2 floors, I saved. So the cost is actually lower. Second, the amount of cement that goes into it is also lower. And two, the power bills that we have to do for the home are lower. Take water. We have 100% rainwater harvesting. There's no municipal water connection. So a typical family in Chennai spends about 2,000 rupees per month, or 4-member family spends on water. Okay? Now all that 2,000 rupees is saving in our case. So it's quantifiable. It's 100% green. So there is no water treatment that is required. Okay? There's no softening plant. There's no RO plant. There's no nothing. Okay? So what happens is, all you have to do is, the fixed cost that you have to do in terms of having a water tank capacity, this lady, Vidhi, had given us an option to construct 50,000 liters of water tank storage. Typically a home would have about 1,000 liters. Okay? So where is 1 and where is 50,000? So what you have done cost, when you do the life cycle cost, every month I save 2,000 rupees. So I think it gets paid back in 4 or 5 years. So the answer is, yes, green can be quantified. And in terms of happiness, yes, there are abstract ones. Okay? But still, if you come into the room and then this lady has given a building of ground plus 100 windows. Okay? If you imagine for a minute, you think the building is all windows, right? Okay? But you just see it, I think it's fine. The other thing is, luxury and sustainability, would they go hand in hand? The answer is 100% yes. Aesthetically, it can be designed. You can have glass, still, you can have it, make it aesthetically fine and, functionally great, and environmentally wise, make the best option, get out of it. Okay? So, what Hari was mentioning, I think this case study is available on the internet. Okay, Mrs. Yamla, and you're most welcome to come to our home, have a look for yourself. Not from a family point of view, but I think anybody who can do what Vidhi has done can do in your projects, replicate it. Okay, thank you very much.
And we could see the happiness also flowing. So though we cannot measure it, we could see that happiness in your face.
So with that, we'd like to say a big thank you to all our panelists here for sharing such wonderful experiences with us, and I'm sure this is surely going to set a new tone in the direction of green building movement. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we shall take a moment to felicitate all our panelists here. I would request Mr. Udit Gupta, Chief Institutional Manager, Kansai Nerolac, to kindly step forward and do the honors. And ladies and gentlemen, could we have a big round of applause for all our panelists here? Sir, I request you to kindly present the bouquet to Mr. U.V. Krishnamohan Rao. Thank you so much for so ably moderating this session for us. We'd also like to present a memento of appreciation to Mr. Biju Kurikakos. So can we have a big round of applause? Thank you, Mr. Gupta. Thank you so much. With that, I would request Mr. H.S. Manikandan to please kindly join us here. Mr. H.S. Manikandan is the Divisional Sales Manager, Kansai Nerolac Limited, and I request you to please present the memento of appreciation to Mr. Hari Krishna. Thank you for your wonderful thoughts and experiences. And we'd also like to say a big thank you to Mr. Anupam Jain for your presence and your thoughts. Thank you so much. With that, thank you ladies and gentlemen for joining us here. It is surely for your presence that this event is so much more eventful and of course memorable. Thank you so much, and yes, wish you a lot of health and green buildings. Thank you all.